Hello and welcome. I am your host of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Author Karen E. Osborne. I have five novels out. The latest is Justice for Emerson. I am so glad that you're here. This is a space for readers and writers to come together and talk about books. So I am delighted to have back the vivacious and talented Rebecca Inch-Partridge. Hey, Rebecca.
Hi, good to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad that you could come back. And this is an exciting time. There's so much going on in your world, including your outer world, the places that you write. So let's start with your newest book. You have written a sequel, right? A
I
second to the book.
have.
So if you could just move that a little over. There we go. Beautiful. Look at that great cover.
Yay! Oh, I'm thrilled.
Yes, yes, yes. So tell us the premise. Remind us about the first book and the series, and then just tell us about the premise.
So I wrote this book first when I was 15. And so it's been a long time coming, and it sat in my file cabinet. And after being an editor, I got a chance to actually, instead of being a bridesmaid, be a bride and get published. So this is book number two. And Twyla is a young telepath whose mother runs their version of the mob in the star cluster they're from. And she'd been in hiding on Earth, but her mother has found her, brought her back to their star cluster, and wants her to take her position in the family business as basically a psychic vampire, and that's what a Dashia is. And so the first book is escaping the Dashia because Twyla says no, and that does not go over well. And so she's got to figure out how to not become a psychic vampire. In the second book, she is sick of trying to avoid um, the mob. And so she decides that the only way that is a good defense is a good offense. And since her mother has threatened her friends and family, she hooks up with a Dashia hunter and is going to take the fight to her. So it is the growing up of Twilight and becoming the threat instead of being the victim. And
Victim. Yes, yes. Strong
yes.
female characters. We like them. Tell us a little bit about Twyla from her character. Tell us more about what kind of person she is, besides determined.
So she was my alter ego when I was 15. She was who I wanted to be and was my imaginary friend, if you will. And so she is not just feisty, but she does the right thing even when there's consequences, even when it's hard. And so she develops quite a shell and is becomes pretty tough through book one. And
Hmm.
there's drawbacks to that. There gets to be problems because it's hard to dial back that inner, I won't say the B word, um, but she has to learn when to use it and when to not. And so book two is her getting a mentor, being back with her friends that she was stolen from, and trying to remember who she was before the abuse.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so there's a lot of
Yeah.
self-identity and a lot of self-hatred. She thinks all people of her race with this telepathy must be bad. And so what do you do with that? And
Hmm.
so, yeah,
You
I've
know, I know this is speculative fantasy, speculative
So it's young adult science fantasy because
science
it's set
fantasy.
in it's set in a Star Wars style universe. I have 16 different races that I've developed over 30 years, and she is part of them all. She's a hybrid, and so she gets to know these different races, which are actually part of her. And so it is just a lot of fun for me. And now it's getting to be a lot of fun for readers as they go, oh, I really like Catans. Oh, I like Flagoans. And just as a little plug, we're putting up on my website a quiz where you can go in and take and find out which race you're most closely personality wise related to. So,
Well, we'll have to tell people how to find that at the end. Be sure
yes,
to tell folks how to hopefully go take that quiz. I
it's
was just
fun.
thinking while you were speaking, and I have the same impression with your first book, that it's so relatable though.
Hmm.
You know, as one reads and sees what she's going through, you can see the here and now and what people
Hmm.
go through as well. So it's one of the things that I admire about you so much, Rebecca, is that you have a commitment not just to your own writing, to people who write in your genre, authors are so supportive of each other. I love
Oh,
that about us. Do really love that about us. So you did something pretty extraordinary recently, curating a group of books. So tell us why, and then share some of the books with us.
okay. Well, first of all, because science fiction often is thought of as only space opera, if you say science fiction, people think Star Trek, they think lasers, they think spaceships. And that's only space opera. That's one thin, small subgenre. And what they don't realize is speculative fiction has often dealt with issues that humanity has been struggling with. And that Gene Roddenberry, that's what he wanted to do with Star Trek. So that's why I love the genre so much. And so trying to get people to understand that a lot of what they read might actually fit under the umbrella of speculative fiction, one of the subgenres, so that they would open up to looking at some of these other great authors that are telling these great stories that just happen to have a speculative element. And so my list initially began with 350 books, and I had to wheel it down to 31. And what I did is I tried to sample all the different um, flavors that science fiction incorporates or speculative fiction incorporates so that people could really get an idea of how vast it is. And what a lot of people don't realize is it's not just for men.
I was just going to say that a lot of times space opera, you think of young men.
Right. But the first science fiction novel was actually written by a woman, Mary Shelley. Frankenstein was written 50 years before Jules Verne. It was published in 1815. And she was writing social commentary on experiments that were going on with corpses at the time. They were electrocuting corpses to make them move, and she was asking, and that's the question that I pulled together is speculative fiction asks, what if?
What
And
if?
she was asking, well, because you can do it, should you? So
And
what
here we are,
if,
right?
uh-huh,
Here we are. And just because you
mm-hmm.
can do it, I do have to say to our audience that I'm in the middle of a electric storm. And so if you see a little zonks, it's because outside there's a whole bunch of what if. So show us a couple of maybe three of the choices that you've chosen.
Okay. Well, first of all, inspired by Anne McCaffrey's question about whether women had a very particular place in society, her books were about a female who couldn't be a bard because she was female. And my son came to me not understanding the plot when he was in fourth grade because he couldn't understand why women weren't allowed to be bards. And so that led to a great conversation about roles of women and men. And so speculative fiction has continued to do that type of discussion, but more subtly, and I'll try to hold it in the same position.
There,
So
yes,
the
the
other thing
Dragon
that,
Eater.
yes, so he's in the same publishing house as I am, Water Dragon. And Scott Coatsworth, he runs Liminal Fiction. And what Liminal Fiction does is run a co-op of authors from the LGBTQ community, because speculative fiction has been LGBTQ friendly in fandom much earlier than publishers caught on that there was a market to try to sell books. But you can do it in a fun way. And here, he's a thief, and he happened to have stole a dragon egg, and he accidentally swallows a dragon. Well, it's a small dragon, but it's a big problem. And so it, the fact that he has a boyfriend and there's relationship problems is just a small sub point, and it doesn't have to be hammered, but people who are looking for themselves in the stories and in the romance can find it in speculative fiction where they often can't find it in mainstream.
Yeah.
And
Okay. What's
so
the next one?
so the next one is another dragon book. So
I
even
love dragons.
mainstream, yeah, even mainstream seems to buy off on dragons. But when you go and you think that all fantasy is Lord of the Rings, not true. Even high fantasy with castles in medieval time, what does Jason do? He has the princess is going to inherit the kingdom. Okay, well, that's unusual that a woman can inherit. Well, not only is it a princess, she's a blind princess.
Mm,
And this princess ends up uncovering a conspiracy that could unravel her father's kingdom. And of course, there's dragons involved.
of
So,
course.
what is there not to love about it?
Hold it
And
up again because we didn't see it really clearly there.
Dragon
The
Princess, and it has got a
Dragon
gorgeous
Princess.
cover, and it is by Jason
Yes.
Crawford. And this book is actually the reason I put together this list. Um, there are so many authors that don't make the one percenters who get a marketing budget and get to be well known, and that's
Most of
writing
us. Most of us.
well, and his writing is astounding because we usually write setting by visual cues. What does the protagonist see? Well, he writes it from third person limited, her point of view, but she can't see.
Blind.
And he
Mm.
does a magnificent job with the other senses, and it really shows a skill, and you're so engulfed in the conspiracy and the storyline and the slow revelations, and there's no gimmick twist.
It's
And
very, very, that's
yeah,
inspiring. How
so
about your third one?
okay, well, so the third one is what actually led to me and my aunt getting published. So
Oh, look at that.
Daryl Wood Gerber would swear she does not write speculative fiction. She's a mystery author. But mystery books have a long history of having a little potential in mainstream books to have supernatural. They
Yeah.
often call it magic realism.
Magic realism, yes.
Yeah, and it used to be strictly limited to ghosts wanting their murder solved. That was just kind of accepted, that trope. Well, so amateur sleuth and the whole cozy mystery fad. I mean, not fad, it's a big industry.
Yeah.
So what she did is she put her protagonist who owns a fairy garden shop actually be able to see a fairy. And this fairy friend, Fiona, helps her solve mysteries in Carmel by the Sea. And the setting is always an important part, small town setting and amateur sleuths and cozy mysteries. So when I had met her and talked to her, she was super interested in mine and my aunt's book, Abby's Fire, set in small town Iowa with an amateur sleuth trying to solve decades old murder in the house she was rehabbing, and the ghost kept showing up in the mirror wanting their murder solved. So she mentored us through, and did an endorsement that helped us get published. So that's that community thing again. And when I told
Yes.
her, well, you do realize you've got a supernatural element, it's speculative. She's like, you could almost call yours, you know, she wanted me, or she's talked to us about how to label ours. So we can market ours as paranormal, mystery thriller with a touch of romance and get a bigger market.
I like it. I
Yeah,
like it. I like it. So
yeah.
how can people find this curated list? How many books are on your list?
31 for the month of May. I
31.
did one for every single day, and it's at my
Yes.
website, ripartridge.com. And there is a nice, beautiful graphic list on the site, but there's also an easy downloadable button where you can print it, and it has the calendar with the icons of each book cover, and then on the back, it has the list with the title, author, and the genre, so you can find them. And there is something there for everyone,
Mhm.
even if you don't think you're into speculative fiction. And the other thing I will do, yeah, I've got a contact form on my website. If you have a friend, family member, that person who's really tough to shop for, and you happen to know that they're into that stuff, Big Bang Theory type person, if you contact me, I'll help you narrow down which book from the list would
Might
probably
be
be a great
perfect.
gift item for them. Yes, because
I
books
love
make good
that.
gifts. I want to corrupt everybody.
Yeah,
I
that's
want to
right.
corrupt everybody into reading and buying books as gifts.
Yes,
And
yes.
so,
I interviewed a grandma who wrote two books with her grandchildren, with her granddaughters. She wrote one with one
oh,
granddaughter and one with the other. And one of them was speculative fiction. This young, yeah, it
awesome.
was one of the most fun interviews that I've ever had. These two young girls telling us how they came up with. And grandma practically just had to just sit there because these two. Yeah,
Hmm.
so girls, speculative fiction, yes, yes, yes. So you have something exciting coming up in 2 days. And so tell us about what and why I mean, other than you're going to be on a panel and you're going to be amazing, but this is like a big deal. So tell us about it.
Okay, so when people think science fiction conventions, they think of Comic-Con. That's fandom. That's that San Diego melee of people in costumes and vendors and all that kind of stuff. And that's a wonderful, fun party. So the actual World Science Fiction Convention is where fans, writers, editors like myself, and acquisition editors from big publishing houses and agents all go. And there's several different tracks of panels on writing, publishing, what's going on in the movie industry, what's going on in television, what's going on in writing, what's going on with self-publishing, what's going on in small publishing. And it only happens in America every other year, usually, unless they have to do double America because they're going to do double out of the country. And it is in California this year, and I happen to be in Sacramento area. And since it's going to be in Anaheim, that's like my backyard. And I'm going to be a panelist with some of my favorite authors whom I admire. And I will be in the vendor's room selling my books along with Water Dragon Publishing at their table. And the different panels that get discussed are everything from should we reintroduce the woolly mammoth to the tundra to restore it, just like the buffalo has restored some of the lands in Mexico that were devastated by the cattle industry. See, that's the type of stuff science does. Two, how is the new moon race impacting the space industry? And how soon could we really put a colony on Mars now that we have to have a base on the moon in order to make that a reality? And so it really runs the gambit because
Yeah.
science affects everything. Science, technology, engineering, math, the STEM of education. America is lagging behind in
Yeah.
some of the other countries, and women still only make up 13 to 17% of some of the jobs in some of those fields. And so that's why strong female protagonists in these
Inspire.
stories, yes, and inspiring our young women to be
Inspire our
interested.
young women. Oh my goodness. So this has just been fascinating, fascinating. And we'll put in the notes where the conference is. I'll make sure
Thank you. Yeah, it's in
we
Anaheim.
in Anaheim, and give us the full name of the conference again.
It's Science Fiction World Convention,
Hmm.
and
And convention in
it's
Anaheim.
been going on, gosh, I want to say this is like the 87th. I mean, it's been going on for a while. And
Oh, people. First of all, I hope you were totally intrigued by Rebecca's new book. And just let's just hold that one up one more time. Let's
oh,
show
I would happily do that.
other side.
Yay!
Yes. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I know that and you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, your local independent bookstore,
Yes.
in the library. And if you don't see it, ask for it. And I know you know that if you decide to buy it or borrow it and you read it and you will love it, write a review. It
Oh,
makes
that'd be
such a
appreciated.
difference. Write a review. Such a small percentage of amazing and wonderful readers take time to write a review. Please write a review. But now, how else can they find you? You told us, repeat your website
It's
again,
ripartridge.com. So nice
where
and
you'll
simple.
find everything that you need. And are you also on social media? You're on
I
Facebook
am
and
I am on Facebook and also RI Partridge, so not too hard to find there. And I'm on Instagram. So I
excellent,
would love to hear
excellent.
from people.
Well, and when you do, when she hears from you, I know that you all know this. Please tell her that you met her on What Are You Reading? What
Yes.
Are You Writing? Till next week, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Bye.